Hi, now we are going to discuss about selecting and filtering the iterators. So mostly here we are going to discuss about how to filter out the iterators. Now to filter out, we have the filter function. We have already worked with the filter function, right? So again, filter function takes the iterable. So of course, like if we are filtering out the iterable, so we can also filter out the iterator and generator as well. Now, here is a quick examples we have. Here we are creating a generators. So the function name is GenCube. This will create like this will generate the cube of n numbers, right? So we have this generator. Now, let's say that we want to filter out all the odd numbers from this generator, right? So let's say that if we want to generate for the number between 0 and 10, and now we want to filter out all the numbers which is being generated from this functions, right, from 0 to 10, right? Now now we know that to filter out the function, so basically this is the sequence data we have, like this is the iterable data we have, right? So this is the this is the generator which will generate the data, right? Works like the iterator. So this is the second argument. Now in the first argument of the filter function, we need a function that will return true and false, right? So actually the function which return true and false is called the predicates, right? So we want a predicate. So here is a functions we have created a function called isOdd which takes x and return if the modulo of x by 2 is equal to 1 or not. So basically this is filtering out the odd functions. Let's run this. Now again here we want to check if the function work or not. For this we should get false, and for this we should get true. Let's run this, right? Now we can use a functions to filter out, like we can use this function with the filter functions. So here is we have this with the filter function. Again, remember that filter function is the lazy functions, right? So it's a lazy, that means it does not evaluate all the value at one time. So here we are using the filter function. This is the function which return true and false, or this is the predicate, and then this is the iterator we have, right? So the same function we are using over here, this gen cubes. Now when we run this here, we know that this filter is a lazy, so we have not calculated the actual value, right? So when we print out the filtered, right, here we'll get the filter object. It's not calculated value we are expecting. Now to do that, you can iterate or you can convert these to a sequence data. So here for that we have this list functions to convert it into a sequence data, right? And now when we run this, here what we are getting, now when you run this, we are saying yielding 1, yielding 2, and so on till yielding 9, because here in the function we have printed, here we are printing when this function will execute for the particular I, this will print, this print will execute with the particular I instances or with the particular I value. And here we can see that this function has called for 9 times for the I value from 0 to 9. But here the value we are getting is only the filtered value. That means we have only got the odd value from whatever the value we have filtered out. So we have filtered out all the odd numbers, all the odd value, right, which was generated by GenCubes. Right. Now, as we can see that we have dropped all the value which has predicted false. Right, here is odd value. If is odd is predicting true for that particular value, right? So that value which for that it is being true, right? We have filtered out, and this is the value we are getting. But it has also dropped all the value which has predicted false. Now let's say that we can, like, let's say that now we want to filter out all the even numbers. So here you can create, you have to create a function. So let's say that here we are creating a function is even, which will filter out or which will return true for the even value, right? And now we can use this is even function with the GenQ. And again here we have got all the even numbers. So see, now to create or to alter our predicate from true to false, right, we had to create a new functions, right? So instead of creating a new function, right, we can use the filter false functions. Now this function is available in the iter tool modules, which is working similar to the filter function, but the filter function will return the value if the output gets true, or if the return value of this function is true, whereas whereas this filter false, right, it retain the value where the predicate is false. That means you do not have to create a new function with this function only. With this is odd function only, instead of filter, if we use filter false, so it will filter out all the value where the output is false. We do not have to create a new functions. Here for that we have to import it. Let's import this. Now we are using filter false. We are using the same odd function, like same function to filter out odd, and then the GenCube here. Now when we see the list of events, we can see that again this filter false is all the it's like it also follow the lazy evaluation, so it's also a lazy function. So again when we convert it into a iterables, we can see we have filtered out all the odd number which is matching to these numbers, right? So instead of filter, right, we can use filter false, right? Now if we have any function which return true, and if you filter out the all the value which is false, right, you do not have to create new function. Instead you can use filter false, right? Now let's talk about another function called down, drop while, and take while. Now this take while function in the iter tool will yield element from the iterables. This will yield element, or this will keep element from the iterable as long as the specific criteria is true. So here we have to pass the criteria. If the criteria matches, the loop will break, right? Or this yield of element will break from the iterable. So again, as soon as the predicted is false, the iteration has stopped. So iteration will be stopped, right? Now let's see that again, this is not a filter function, right? This is a totally different functions, right? So basically this iterate over the iterable as long as the predicate remains true. Let's consider that here we have this function, the function of sine wave, right? Let's run this. When we now let's see the value of sine wave for 15, for n between 0 to 15. When we do this, we have got the value. So we have got the output from the sine wave function. Now let's use the take while functions. And here we have created a function. This function will return true and false, right? And this is the iterable now. Now this function becomes the iterable now because this is a generator, right? And now here we are, now each value of sine wave we are passing over here as an x, right? And now we are trying to check that whether this x is less than equal to 0 and like greater than equal to 0 and less than equal to 0.9. So if the x criteria matches, right, if again here like this is the functions we have. If this criteria matches, there only the function will stop, right? So here the thing is, this will iterate over the iterables as long as the predicate remains true. So till this criteria remains true, right, it will extract the value. As long as this criteria becomes false, right, so the function will stop over there. This is how it works. So when we run this, see what value we are getting. We are getting 0.0, which is under this criteria. We are getting 0.43, which is under this criteria. We are getting 0.78, which comes under this criteria. And the next element is from 0.78. Next element is 0.97. Now this element, this 0.97 does not comes under this criteria. So this lambda function will return false. If the lambda function return false, the entire function will break. So this entire take while function will break and it will stop and it will only return those output. So that's how the take while function work, right? Here, and if you use, instead of take while, if you use the filter function over here, as I'm saying, this is not the filter function. Filter function will filter out all the value. It will not check until it breaks. It will go, it will scan all the value and it will give you those output where the criteria matches as true. So let's check it. Here we can see that till here. Now it has goes beyond this criteria, right? So it is filtering out all the value, right? If the values get false, that value will not be filtered out. Now similar to take while, we have a drop while function, right? That start the iteration once the predicator becomes false. This is a totally opposite to take while. So if the predicator becomes false or if the predicate becomes false, from there it will start extracting the output, right? It will drop till the output is true. Consider this example. Here we have this, we have imported drop while. This is the list, and now we are saying that lambda x is less than 5. We're saying that if x is less than 5 and then this iterable object, this L is passing. So 1 is less than 5. Yes, it is true. 3 is less than 5. It is also true. But 5 is less than 5 is false. Now from here it will extract all the values. So it will give you 5 to 1 as a result. Let's see that. Here we're getting 5 to 1. Now let's talk about the compressed functions. Now this compressed functions, right, is like a filter function only which takes two iterable as a parameter, right? Now the first argument is the iterable where it contains the data, right? So we have a data and now we want to filter out that data. That data will be the first argument, and the second iterable argument is itself the selector of the element that will based on this second iterable object, right? Entire data or entire data from the first iterable will be filtered out, right? So here is, so one of the simplest way to look this is a zip function. Consider that we have this data a, B, C, D, E. This is the data we have, and then we have the selector where we have the true, false, 0, 1. So here we are zipping. So this is only the 4, the length of this is 5. So when we use this object into a zip function, it will only filter out till 4th element. It will not look at the 5th element. And so this data we are getting, right? So this is similar to zip, but it is not zip, right? Now let's say that we only retain the element where the second value is tuple is truthy. That means we want to get all the data where this value is true. That's it. So based on this, it will extract A because we have the true over here. Now this value will be discarded because it's because the second selector, because the selector has the false value. This value will be included because it is true. This value will be discarded because the 0 has the false meaning, right? So we'll only get A and C, and here you can write the code for that. Here we have zipped the data and the selector. We have taken the for loop. We have extracted each element, and then we are saying that if that value is true, then we want to filter out only those items. When we run this, we'll get A and the C. Now this compressed function works the same way, except it is a lazy evaluator, right? So it is a lazy expression, so it does not evaluate instantly, right? And it returns the iterator. So here, how to use this? We have to import it from the iter tool, and now we are using compress. We are passing data and then we are passing selector. What this is doing is, this is only selecting, this will only select the data where where the item of the selector is truthy, or the item of the selector is the boolean value of the selector is true, right? Here we can check the output. We are saying the A and the C, the same output we are getting, right? So this compress function works similar to this logic. right? And yeah, that's it. Thank you very much.